Can you think of an example in which you or someone you know made a financial commitment to something based more on faith than logic and facts? And what gets in the way of building up faith in God? What kind of knowledge or experiences might help build up faith in God? People living their lives backwards. Or as a poster in my office says, wherever you go, there you are. Trying to find happiness. When faced with making decisions related to money, there's that word, money. It was in the scripture this morning. You see, this focus is on Luke. But the other passage that was read was about Jeremiah, right? Who was willing to buy a worthless piece of land in a destructed community because he had faith in God. He had hope in the future. He knew it was going to turn around. But questions about how to relate to money come laden with emotion, judgment, shame, and fear. And while secular influences make deep impressions on our lives, urging us to keep up with the Joneses or instilling fears that we will never have enough, the biblical witness offered in today's text provide an alternative worldview meant to provide direction and assurance. The story of Lazarus reminds us that faithful living requires noticing the needs of our neighbors and responding to those needs. Jeremiah's prophetic act inspires us to invest financially in the world the world that we want to see, and to act with hope, especially when faced with uncertainty. We are called and often directed by Scripture to cultivate love through acts of generosity. And we are often invited to identify with Lazarus when we hear this passage. Or more frequently, with the rich man who paid Lazarus no heed. But could we, for a moment, imagine that we are one of the rich man's brothers and sisters? You recall he asked God, hearing the warning of what heaven and hell was, he asked God to send a prophet, send notice back to his brothers and sisters to warn them not to do what he did. Kind of like a Scrooge or something. And God said, you have prophets, they have prophets. You're not going to take their word for it. It's really small, the request the rich man makes. A drop of water and a messenger to tell others. Might we not do these very things? Bringing a measure of relief to others and telling all we meet that God desires we care for others? Wasn't there a line from the Beatles song? Okay, you're all going to start singing this, okay? Eleanor Rigby. Ellen? I can't do it alone. Okay, so we'll go home and look it up on our... Eleanor Rigby died at the church and was buried along with her name. Nobody came. But Eleanor Rigby had been a real person, much like the woman I helped with the sleeping bag. And she was worthy of attention and worthy of love and worthy of extra care from the rest of society, and especially from those who were doing well for themselves. Let us remember the barriers that exist already between us and those who are less fortunate, but also remind us that this is a parable, not a prediction. and that we have the power to rewrite the ending. Let us keep in mind that we are writing our eulogy with each act and step we take. Let us remember that we believe in the resurrected Christ who is moving among us, and that is his name we are both, and that in his name we are both able and committed to sharing water, food, love, good news with all those in need. And may it be so. Eleanor Rigby.